I have a. I just have a problem. I can't learn. It's a learning problem.
Well, you're gonna have to learn to solve it. Okay.
I can't see the learning problem. I can't learn if I learn the problem.
Isn't that crazy though? The only way you can solve the problem is by learning though. Guys, hey, open up. We'll start up. All right, parallel and perpendicular. I'm giving you steps because, yeah, I'm giving you steps to make sure we know it. So, he's in. So we got parallel and perpendicular lines. We have talked about this already. I'm going to give you steps to how to solve it. 1, find the slope of the original equation. So you want to, your first step is to find the slope of the original equation. That's the only thing we care about in the original equation is its slope. Okay? When we're comparing, because the question is basically, hey, I'm going to ask you to make a new line. And this new line either has to be parallel or perpendicular. Yes, but more importantly, you're making a new line. And this new line has to pass through X point, X comma Y point. So we're going to talk about how to do that. Yes, but people asked me to go over it, so I want to go over a little bit. So first thing, find the slope of the original equation. We're going to do perpendicular, by the way, so it's also going to apply to that. Take the slope and use it for the new equation. No problem. Same if parallel. Negative reciprocal. If perpendicular. You'll see an example, but what is a reciprocal? So if you have a positive number, you would just make it negative. If you have a negative number, what do you think you should do? Yeah, so that's a negative. Yeah, even if it's not a fraction. Yeah, you'll see that. You'll see it. Okay. Yes.
So for the perpendicular lines, all you do is you take the original equation and then you'll find like the new. So like from the middle there, you can just find the new.
Is it all right if I just do an example eventually, and then most of your answers will be questions will be answered? Because it'd be wrong, most likely more than not. That's a good question, because the third step is to use the given points and your taken slope to make a new equation. So you guys are asking, hold up, you guys are asking, why can't I just draw a parallel line? Well, there's an infinite amount of parallel lines. You can spread it out like this. You have infinite amount of them that can go on forever because X and Y goes on forever. So when I ask for a new parallel line, I have to be specific with a point. So that's why you can't just draw a random line that looks parallel. Even if it is parallel, the issue is I needed to match that exact point. So that's why we do all these steps.
Why can't you use like the same slope and use the Y?
That is what we end up doing in parallel.
No, but why can't you like
Okay. Okay, so we're going to do one parallel and then one perpendicular. All right? So, yeah, and then who knows? Given Monday or Tuesday?
Oh, I thought it was like Thursday.
Thursday, Thanksgiving? No,
I thought we came to-
next week. So given an equation, given the equation, I should say. Good.
Can you give us a quick-
I could.
It should be the same thing. Yeah.
So let's talk about our first question. I just typed it up. So given the equation, so I'll give you equation. This is your original equation. Y equals 4x minus 1. Yes, yes, yes. Find a line that is parallel that goes through point 6, comma 2. No, I'm gonna step through it. Using the steps. You could try it yourself, but you just have to go ahead of me. So find the slope of the original equation. So the slope here is going to be, this is y equals mx plus b. So if y equals mx plus b, you should remember m means your slope, right, Ethan? Are you writing this down anywhere? So 4 equals your m. Because it's parallel, it's the same slope. We don't change it. So we have 4 equals m. And then we also have 6 comma 2 is our x and y. Now, why would I not use the old b? Can anyone try to explain why would I not use the old b? Here. Excellent. We're not using the old b because we're making a new line. So new line, new b. Raise your hand, raise your hand. Who wants to go first? Go. Why am I putting y equals mx plus b form? That's why 4 equals m, yes. You're not using b to find a new line, no. Yes, the reason we are making a new b because we have a new line. Ladies. Ethan, what? So we're gonna do that. So it is y equals mx plus b. So we gotta find the new b. So it's going to be 2, the 2 is the y, equals 4, which is the m, times 6, which is the x, plus b. I don't know what b is. 4 times 6, 12, 24, plus b equals 2. Subtract 24 on both sides. You should have negative 22 equals b. Good. And then you're going to finalize your last equation. So your new equation is y equals 4x minus 22. That is your final answer. No, because you had that for homework. So what we're going to do is do a perpendicular one now. That's fine if you graph it. That's fine. Yeah, so graph it just like any other equation. Given. You don't want x and y in your final equation because that equation is like your map to find any x or any y. So you leave that purposely as variables because you use that later. Or you might lose that later. In this case, we're done with the question, but I could ask you a follow-up question. Why is the, anyone wants to answer? What's the purpose of finding a new b? Or why can't we use the old b? Because we're making a new line, new b. Because I asked you to in the question, that's why you make it. Because this is math class, so you gotta do math. If you wanna think about deeper, because you gotta go to school, I don't know. You know? Yes, given an equation, y equals 3x minus 4, find, I should say the line that is perpendicular to that and goes through the point 12 comma -5. Yeah, let's do that. So our new equation, given the equation is y equals 3x minus 4. Excellent. So let's talk about that. But let me read it out first. Given the equation y equals 3x minus 4, find the line of the perpendicular, that is perpendicular, to that equation, and that goes through 12 comma -5. It's perpendicular. We're doing perpendicular. It's the same steps as above. You'll see. So first thing I need to do is take the slope from this equation. Anyone want to raise their hand and give me what the slope is? 3. So the m originally is 3, but the word is perpendicular. Now, what does perpendicular mean I have to do, Ethan? Negative. So it's going to be a -3, but there's something else. Negative what? Raise your hand. Starts with an R. Well, I can't hear anybody. They raise their hands. Reciprocal. Sorry, it's okay. So negative reciprocal. So I'm going to write this original one. So I'm going to call it MO for the original. M, the slope of the original. Yeah. No, you don't assume. You know because it's perpendicular. So the original is 3. Because I have to reciprocate it, I got to make it a fraction. To reciprocate it, I need to make it a fraction. Now the new slope is going to be the negative version, negative, and then the flip version, 1/3. Negative 1/3. You got to practice raising your hand. Go ahead. No, this is the original slope, and I use it to get this slope. This is the real slope I'm using. Okay. Now parallel, here's the key thing. Parallel stays the same, so you don't have to think about it. You just take it. But this perpendicular, you got to flip it and switch it. Yeah, parallel, you don't do anything. Yeah, exactly. So you don't have to do anything. But now we started. Let's finish. We have our point there. Good. No, you don't have to flip that. Why is it -5? It's both flip and switched. So negative, and flipped over, reciprocal. That's just part of the definition of it. Yes. No. Just, you take the points as the points. So we're going to solve it. Same method. We're going to solve it. Now we just use our new slope and our points that were given. So -5, by the way, it's y equals mx plus b. So we got to find new b, new line, new b. -5 times, I'm going to write it as a fraction, -1/3 times 12 plus b. It's fine if you use a calculator, but make sure you don't leave a repeating decimal, especially if it's a whole number. Here, it would be -4 plus b. 12 divided by 3 is -4. I'm sorry. 12 divided by -3 is -4. One question at a time.
So when
I
we're
got
like
it.
doing this, like when we're finally writing at the end, do we do y equals like the original m, like 3, or we just
The new M, the new M. Minus one, you can just write minus one.
Oh, minus.
Well, I can just put the negative 1/3 and 12 in one parentheses here.
You could have.
Oh, wait, so what are you what are you multiplying it by? Because you're not multiplying the -5, so that's why I'm asking why you did, why separated them.
I just wrote it so it's clear it's two different things I'm coming from, but you can write it in one parenthesis. Yeah. So -1 equals B. Then we just plug it into the equation. Y equals my new M, -1/3, X minus my new B, which is -1. It's just more nicer to write just minus. Go ahead, Ethan.
Is parallel parallel and perpendicular form?
Is it, say that one more time.
You gotta remember called standard form, point slope form.
These are not, good question. These are not slope, these are not forms. These are not forms. We wrote it in slope intercept form. These are questions regarding parallel and perpendicular. These are not forms. These are the type of questions you can receive. Okay? Fair question for that. Anybody else? Any questions on this? Would you like to try one yourselves?
Sure.
Okay. I'll just give you a perpendicular because we did enough with parallel. Parallel. The equation y equals 5x minus 7. Yeah, I have to tell you, find the perpendicular line of this, find the parallel line of this. That is, that's, yeah, don't try to avoid that. Try to avoid it. To that and goes through the point 20, yeah, 20 comma 16.
Wait, what is that? To that?
Circle left, you mean?
Wait, what is
like-
to
No,
that?
I just.
What is to that?
To that original equation.
Wait, are we doing this on our own?
Yeah, try it out. Cool.
What?
We're already.
I didn't even finish writing the problem.
Yeah.
What do you want me to say?
Wait, which way are we supposed to do it?
So you remember, the only thing you care about the original equation, what do you take it out of it? There's only two things, the slope and the b.
I know, but no, because there's two ways of doing it.
Oh. So it's perpendicular. So what does that mean? Did you write it on the top of your notes? I put it in the beginning of the class, so of today. What is, we keep reading. If it's perpendicular, what?
And you're taking stuff.
Yes, flip back open. I think I put in parentheses. Parallel is same.
Oh, I did write that.
Okay. Parallel is the same. Perpendicular is a negative reciprocal. Okay. What's the slope originally? Okay. So what's the opposite of 5? The negative of 5 is? What's the opposite? Excellent. That's it. That's your new slope.
Oh, are you not supposed that if it's fraction?
Say that again?
So if it's fractional form, then you have to
Wait,
change
why?
it now.
No, you like fraction slopes because they tell you what the rise and run actually. So
I think I got it. You can check.
Wait, I think I got it.
let me think, wait.
You're doing it in your head.
I think I got it.
What else gonna do it?
Mr. Toba, can I type you the answer?
Yeah, you can type it private chat me.
Negative 1.
That's a negative.
I see that.
I'm on your math.
Negative one X.
Oh, same.
Good job. Just don't forget.
Yeah.
the accent.
Oh, I forgot that. Did I got it right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Shane, good job, man. Yeah. Ooh, no. Oh, no. It's a negative 1/5 times 20 should be not 4, but negative 4. So then you would add 4 to both sides. Sure. Let's talk about this. Did you know how to start? Okay. So- All right. Ethan, what's the answer?
The final answer.
Yeah.
Y equals -1/5x +
1 over 5x plus 20. Good job. So just a recap, how do we get that? You start off with the original m, which is 5, and you're going to turn it to the negative reciprocal. The reason I turn it to the negative reciprocal is because this word perpendicular is here. That's the reason why I change it. So it's negative 1 over 5. So negative reciprocal, so I change it to negative, and it's flipped over 1 over 5. Then I have a point, 20 comma 16. Plug it into my y equals mx plus b. 16 equals negative 1/5. 20 plus b. Negative 1/5 times 20 is negative 4 plus b equals 16. Plus 4 on both sides. 20 equals b. There we go. Oh, and then the final answer, which I already wrote somewhere over here. A little bit more sunscreen? Okay. All right. Next type of question you could get from this, not this one. Out of these lines, which one of them are parallel to each other or perpendicular to each other? Now, here's the question. How do you test something parallel or perpendicular? You don't have to actually do the problem. What do you need to compare to? Each other.
If the slope's negative.
What's it? What's the negative?
Well, wouldn't that -6 and -3?
No.
If the slope's negative.
If the slope is a negative reciprocal, that means those two lines are what?
Perpendicular.
Good. If the slopes were exactly the same, what those two lines are?
Parallel.
Parallel. Good. So what you're gonna have to do above there is first solve it for y. Why would you solve it for y? Does anyone have any idea why? Go ahead. Good, because if you solve it for y, you're gonna get it in y equals mx plus b form. Good. So you're gonna solve it for y. Now look at here, only b solved for y, so do your math right now, solve for y. Yeah, you're moving everything away from y. So we just, first you gotta solve for y. The reason we need to solve for y is because we need to look at those slopes.
Wait, you divide or?
For which part? How am I supposed to answer your question?
Okay, so for the 3y, you need to get y by itself, you're saying? So how do you go one back?
For A or for C?
Okay.
I would add x first.
You add it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Solving for y, your laws? And what happened? You retired? That kind of sucks.
Wait, okay, so go divide or?
What?
So the first one I got y equals 1, like x over 3 plus 1/3, but x over 3 is 1/3, so isn't that parallel?
So you could write it like this.
Wait,
One
is it y
third
equals 1
x,
One x. my God.
plus.
Oh, I wrote 3x. What if some of them are good?
How do you get 1/3 twice?
What's up?
Yeah, how do you get 1/3 twice?
Oh, shh.
Parallel.
Guys, good question was asked. How did I get 1/3 twice? I plus x on both sides. So let me erase this first. So I plus x on both sides, so we get 3y equals x plus 1. I just put the x in front. Doesn't matter if you put it in the back. Then I'm going to divide by 3. Once you divide by 3, everyone got to get divided by 3. So that means it's going to be y. And that doesn't really look like a y. So y equals 1 over 3x. I rewrote it like this instead of x over 3 plus 1 over 3. This one, b, thankfully, is already written in the correct form. So that's easy for us.
X over there is 1.
Exactly, it's 1/3. You have, did you not?
We got it. You got it. You get already
Meaning they're both 1/3.
For this one? Yeah, b, so yeah, you can stop right there.
How do you know what it is?
Hold up, let's get all of them and then we'll talk about comparing them, okay?
Alright.
And then the last one, I'm gonna subtract 3x on both sides. So I got negative 6y equals negative 3x plus 4. Then I'm gonna divide everything by negative 6. When I divide, everyone gets a piece. So y equals negative 3 divided by negative 6 is a positive a half. X, 4 positive 4 divided by negative 6 is going to be a negative 2 over 3. I'm simplifying it to 2 over 3. So, okay. There's 2 things we know. There's only 2 things we know. Well, there's more than 2 things we know, but for today, parallel lines means the slope is the same. Is there any A, B, C combination here where the slopes are the same? Go question. Yes. We don't know. We're trying to figure that out. Is the slope the same for any 2 equations here? A with what? Which one? What slope? Which one? From what I'm seeing, there's nothing here that has the same slope. So none of them has the same slope. So at this moment, we have no parallel lines. What is the next thing we test? What is it? Perpendicular. Good. You gotta raise your hand, man. Perpendicular. Which means it's a negative reciprocal. Okay? Is there any pair here that it has a negative reciprocal for the slope for itself? Is there any pair here that is a negative reciprocal?
Oh yeah, 3y. C.
A and C? Y, the slope here is 1/3. The slope here is 1/2. I disagree with that. That's not a negative reciprocal to each other. Kira? A and B, the slope here is 1/3. The slope here is -3. That is a negative reciprocal. What is -3 as a, what's a -3 as a fraction? -3 over 1. Is that the reciprocal that's negative of 1 over 3? You're finding them. You're finding them. I'm not finding which ones are which to each other. Were you, I'm sorry. What's the code?
I got it in the beginning.
Oh. Sorry, okay.
And what's C?
We have homework on this, I'm struggling.
It's not that bad of a show.
Yeah, I know.
I know. God forbid you think about the most. Are we all tuckered out or we got more to go?
No, we're not.
We're all, we can have that.
What's up?
No, we can have it.
We could go?
Yeah.
You mean it where? You mean it like that? Oh. Because if it's negative 3 and it's positive 1/3, then they're.
Yeah, there was some.
I didn't say-
But you wrote 130 equals 130. I just wanna make sure.
No, no, I'm
Oh.
just-
What's up?
Yeah, the-
Hold up, give me a second. We're free to go. Shank, you have a wonderful day, all right? C has no interaction with either one. Yes.